It's funny, when a computer operating system encounters like a fatal error, it is incredibly polite about it. You get that infamous blue screen, a nice string of hexadecimal code, and a very clear, sterile log of exactly what failed and why.
Right, yeah. It's binary, it's clean.
Exactly.
The machine just stops. I mean, it doesn't throw a tantrum, doesn't passive-aggressively blame the software running next to it, and it certainly doesn't hold a grudge against the motherboard for the rest of the week.
No, definitely not. But then, if you look at the human operating system, when we experience an overload, whether that's, a flood of 400 unread emails, a failing business venture, or a massive fight with a partner, that blue screen of death is incredibly messy.
Oh yeah, completely chaotic.
Right, we lose our temper, our executive function just flatlines, we forget vital information, and our biology basically rebels against us.
It's the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters. We're running this prehistoric hardware in a modern, hyper-connected world. And frankly, our hardware is struggling to keep up with the software demands of daily life.
And that is exactly why we are doing this custom deep dive for you today. We've synthesized a massive stack of material that looks, at first glance, like it belongs in two entirely different universes.
Yeah, totally.
On one side, we're looking at highly technical software architecture, so things like APIs, automation scripts, and digital workspace platforms. And then on the flip side, we have these deep psychological and neuroscientific frameworks.
Right, covering habit formation, emotional maturity, and resolving relational conflict.
Exactly. It sounds disjointed, I know, but the underlying architecture is actually exactly the same. So our mission today is to synthesize these realms into one masterclass on optimizing the human operating system.
Yeah, we're going to build a unified framework. First, we'll look at constructing a bionic second brain to handle the crushing weight of modern information overload.
Which we all have.
We all have it. And then we are going to seamlessly transition into upgrading your biological brain to handle stress, learn faster, and repair your most important relationships.
Because whether you are an entrepreneur trying to outrun burnout, or just someone who feels utterly overwhelmed by the sheer volume of data and stress you have to process every single day, this is for you. We need to stop treating our tech and our minds as separate entities.
Absolutely. So let's start with the digital scaffold, because before we can fix the biological brain, we really have to stop punishing it with impossible tasks. Right now, the sheer volume of data we handle is just breaking our cognitive limits.
Oh, for sure.
There is a staggering statistic from the sources that really puts this into perspective. The average knowledge worker spends 1.8 hours a day just looking for information.
Like almost 2 hours a day?
Yeah, 1.8.
That's what, over 9 hours a week? You are essentially spending an entire workday every single week just playing hide and seek with your own files, digging through Slack channels, and searching your email history.
It is a massive drain on productivity and mental energy, and the solution to this is personal knowledge management, or a PKM system.
Right.
But a PKM isn't just about hoarding files in neatly labeled folders. I mean, folders impose a rigid, linear hierarchy on information that doesn't actually match how human thoughts work.
That makes sense. Our brains aren't filing cabinets.
Exactly. A true PKM is about creating a cognitive scaffold.
Mm-hmm.
It uses bidirectional linking so that concepts organically connect to one another, much like the neural pathways in your physical brain.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the tools to build this cognitive scaffold are getting wildly sophisticated lately. Take a platform like Workflowy, for example.
Yeah, they've been doing some interesting things.
They just integrated OCR optical character recognition, so you can take a picture of a whiteboard after a messy meeting or a page in a book, and it pulls the text and ideas directly into your digital canvas.
That's huge.
Right. They also added an email to Workflowy feature, which completely removes the friction of capturing ideas.
And friction is the absolute enemy of capture. If it takes too many clicks to save a thought, your brain just discards it.
Yep.
And then you look at a platform like Notion. They utilize a service called iFramely, which allows you to embed external content from over 1,900 different domains directly into your workspace.
Oh, wow. 1900.
Yeah, we are talking about everything from interactive Google Maps to entire Miro boards, GitHub code snippets, and Vimeo players. You don't have to leave the app at all.
So you keep all your context in one place.
Exactly, which eliminates the intense cognitive drain of context switching.
It's like having all your apps living underneath one roof. But it's not just about dumping data into a void, right? It's about structuring it so you can actually use it later. And a classic, highly effective way to structure this data is the Cornell note-taking method.
Yes, the anatomy of a Cornell note is just brilliant in its simplicity. You divide your page into 3 sections. On the left, you have a narrow column for cues, so keywords, triggers, or core questions. On the right, a wider column for your actual notes taken during a meeting or while reading.
Right.
And finally, a section at the bottom for a brief synthesized summary of the entire page.
It forces you to actively engage with the material rather than just, passively transcribing what someone is saying. But here's where I want to push back a little on the sources.
Okay, go for it.
I look at a PKM as an external hard drive for the brain. But there's this ongoing debate about analog versus digital note-taking. If I handwrite my notes, sure, maybe I absorb it better in the moment, but I've just created a massive bottleneck.
How so?
Handwriting isn't searchable. If I can't hit Command-F on my notebook 3 months from now when I actually need that insight, my perfectly captured thought is essentially lost in a paper black hole. Aren't digital notes just inherently better for a system that relies on retrieval?
Well, that is the ultimate modern dilemma. It's a logical assumption that digital searchability wins out. But the neurological research points out a severe flaw in typing.
Really?
Yeah. Writing by hand forces a neurological process called encoding. Because you physically cannot write as fast as someone speaks, you can't transcribe verbatim.
That's true, you have to summarize.
Exactly. Your brain is forced to actively listen, synthesize the information, and distill it into your own words on the fly. When you type, because you are so fast, you often bypass that synthesis entirely.
Oh, I see.
They're just acting as a human dictation machine.
Yeah.
The words go through your ears and out your fingertips without ever actually touching your working memory.
So typing faster is actually the bug, not the feature. But I still need my notes to be searchable in my database, so how do we bridge that gap?
This raises an important question, and the compromise in the material is a fantastic technique called the blurting method.
The blurting method. Yeah.
You read a text or attend a meeting, and you don't take notes in the moment, you just listen. Then, you open your digital PKM, you write down every single keyword and concept.
Oh, you literally blurt it out onto the page from memory.
Exactly. Then you go back to the source and check your blind spots. It forces your brain to do that heavy neurological encoding, but you still end up with a fully searchable digital artifact.
I love that. So now we've captured all this knowledge in our digital scaffold, we've encoded it properly, but we can't manually manage all of this.
No, absolutely not.
If we do, we just become full-time digital librarians, constantly tagging and sorting, which defeats the entire purpose of saving time.
Exactly. The modern PKM isn't a static library, it's an active engine. And this is where the API and workflow documentation we looked at comes into play.
Right.
For example, Notion's MCP, the Model Context Protocol. This is a massive leap forward. It connects your Notion workspace directly to AI agents like ChatGPT and Claude.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you aren't just querying a generic AI chatbot anymore. You are using APIs designed for agentic workflows to read and write structured content directly within your own private knowledge base.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We are moving from AI as a fancy search engine to AI as an active participant in our workflows.
Precisely.
And we can set up trigger-based automations to handle the busy work. A great practical example from the text is using Approve It and Zapier.
Yeah, that's a perfect use case.
Let's say a Google Sheet form is submitted, maybe an expense request or a new client lead. That submission triggers an Approve It workflow via API keys. It routes the approval, gathers the contextual data, and alerts the right people. It keeps human-in-the-loop decisions perfectly organized without anyone having to draft a manual email or update a spreadsheet.
But as anyone who has actually tried to build these systems knows, you inevitably hit highly specific technical roadblocks. There is a fascinating nuance with Zapier's standard Notion integration.
Oh yeah, the limitation.
Right, it has a known limitation.
Correct.
It cannot automatically update relation properties in a Notion database.
Which is a huge problem. If your entire PKM relies on bidirectional linking and relating different databases to one another, like linking a specific task to a broader project database, and Zapier can't do that, the automation chain is broken.
Precisely. If you use the standard tool, it just fails. But the sources provide a direct workaround. You use a Zapier action called code by Zapier and run a custom JavaScript event.
Okay.
Think of Zapier's standard integration like a delivery driver who's only allowed to drop packages at the front door. They can't go inside and organize your filing cabinet, which represents the relations property.
Okay, so how do we get the driver inside the building?
You write a script to bypass the limitation. You use JavaScript to make a fetch PH request directly to Notion's API. Going back to our metaphor, this script is like giving the delivery driver a VIP keycard.
I see.
That keycard is your internal integration token, which you pass inside the authorization header of the request. The code bundles up the ID of the new submission, the name of the relation property, and the ID of the related page into a JSON payload.
Wow.
It bypasses the front door and patches the database directly, putting the file exactly where it belongs.
That perfectly illustrates what we are trying to achieve. By setting up these API handshakes and custom scripts, we are literally programming our lives. We are offloading our executive functioning.
We really are.
We hand the busy work over to Zapier and Notion so that we can preserve our mental bandwidth for actual deep work.
But here's the fatal flaw in offloading all this to Zapier. You've built a frictionless system for a biological machine that might currently be running on empty.
That's a great point.
If your prefrontal cortex is exhausted, a perfect Notion dashboard won't force you to open your laptop. All the digital automation in the world will not save you if your biological brain is completely fatigued.
Which means we have to look at how to program our own human habits as efficiently as we just program that JavaScript workaround. Because let's be real, I know I can easily follow a complex Notion workflow at 9 a.m. But by 6 p.m., I'm ignoring my own system, scrolling my phone, and eating cereal for dinner.
Exactly. And what you're experiencing at 6 p.m. is a biological mechanism called ego depletion. It's the scientifically backed reality that pure willpower is a finite resource.
So it actually runs out.
Yes, every decision you make drains that tank.
Yeah.
If you are relying on sheer willpower to force yourself to learn a new skill or maintain a complex digital system, you will inevitably fail when that tank runs dry in the evening.
So we need a way to automate biological behavior the same way Zapier automates data. Where do habits actually live in the brain, if not in our willpower?
They live deeper in the brain, in a region called the striatum. Striatum is heavily influenced by dopamine and manages two parallel systems.
Okay, what are they?
A reward-based system that motivates you to start a behavior, and a repetition-based system that eventually encodes it into automatic memory. To hack that dopamine system, you can use the 2-minute rule and habit stacking.
Ah, yes. The 2-minute rule is brilliant because it lowers the barrier to entry. You scale any new habit down to a 2-minute version.
Yeah.
Don't commit to reading a dense chapter on coding every night. Commit to reading one single page. It lowers the dopamine threshold required to start, bypassing the brain's initial resistance.
And habit stacking is tying that new, tiny habit to an existing rock-solid routine. Like, after I pour my morning coffee, I will write one sentence in my journal.
That makes so much sense.
You are essentially using the established neural pathway of pouring coffee to trigger the new behavior.
Which is exactly like a trigger-based automation in Zapier. The coffee is the Google Sheets submission, and the journaling is the automated action.
What's fascinating here is how identical the digital and biological systems really are. Habit stacking is literally the biological code we use to bypass our brain's natural resistance to change.
Wow.
And we see similar hacks when it comes to rapid skill acquisition, like the 20% rule.
Right, the research shows that 20% of any given skill accounts for 80% of the performance. If you want to learn the guitar, you could spend years memorizing every scale and obscure chord progression.
Which sounds exhausting.
It does. Or you could learn the 8 to 10 most common chords, which structurally make up thousands of popular songs. You master that critical 20% first to get the maximum output.
And to lock that 20% into your long-term memory, you don't cram. You use spaced repetition. You review the material at strategically increasing intervals, maybe one day later, then 3 days, then a week.
Gonna trick the brain.
Exactly. This actively combats the brain's natural forgetting curve. Every time you force your brain to recall the information right as it's about to forget it, you thicken the myelin sheath around that neural pathway, making the memory permanent.
So what does this all mean? We've built the digital system and we've learned how to code our biological habits for efficiency in learning. But let's stress test this. Habits are incredibly easy to maintain when you are sitting calmly in your living room. What happens to the human operating system underneath extreme stress, like running a business or managing a crisis?
Well, the data on mental health, particularly for founders and business owners, is sobering. Entrepreneurs are 30% more likely to experience high levels of stress and burnout compared to the general population.
That's a huge difference.
It is. Under that kind of sustained pressure, the biological system frequently crashes. And when it crashes, A very specific tug of war happens inside your skull.
It's a battle between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, right?
Exactly. The amygdala is our prehistoric fear and threat detection center. The prefrontal cortex handles logic, emotional regulation, and executive function. When severe stress hits, the amygdala essentially stages a coup. It hijacks the system.
Which leads to emotional reactivity. Reactivity is letting the amygdala run the show. It looks like blaming, defensiveness, or emotional fusion, where your entire sense of self-worth becomes entirely fused to an external outcome, like the success of a project or the mood of a client.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Emotional maturity, on the other hand, is the ability to create a gap between the trigger and your response.
That gap is everything. It's the space where executive choice actually exists.
But I have to ask, when your startup is on the verge of bankruptcy, or a major client is actively screaming at you over a Zoom call, isn't emotional reactivity just a natural biological survival instinct?
Oh, absolutely.
Because your brain thinks you're being attacked, it feels impossible to just choose to be mature when your heart rate is at 120 beats per minute.
It genuinely is a survival instinct. Your brain genuinely believes you are being chased by a predator. But the goal isn't to pretend the stress doesn't exist, it's to enact a manual override.
How so?
Techniques from cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and active listening are essentially biological reset switches.
How does active listening actually reset the biology, though?
Well, when you actively listen to someone who is upset, and you attempt to absorb their words and reflect them back without immediately formulating your defense, it requires intense cognitive focus. That intense focus requires energy. Your body physically has to route blood flow away from the reactive amygdala and pump it back into the logical prefrontal cortex to process the complex information.
Like, really?
Yes, you are literally, biologically overriding the panic by forcing your brain to do complex work.
That is incredible. Active listening isn't just a soft communication skill. It's a physiological mechanism to regain control of your hardware.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the final piece of this puzzle. Because emotional reactivity doesn't just result in bad business decisions, it actively damages our closest relationships. When the system crashes and we hurt the people around us, how do we repair that network?
To understand relational conflict, we really have to look at attachment theory. This is the unconscious blueprint for how we relate to others, formed in our early childhood.
Okay.
During a conflict, someone with an avoidant attachment style will react to triggers by withdrawing, shutting down, and seeking physical or emotional distance to feel safe.
While someone with an anxious attachment style will do the exact opposite. They will pursue, demand reassurance, and send 10 text messages in a row because they fear abandonment.
Yep, completely opposite reactions.
So if an anxious partner sends a long emotional text and the avoidant partner gets overwhelmed and goes completely silent for 6 hours, what happens?
It creates a vicious, self-sustaining spiral. The more the anxious person pushes for connection, the more suffocated the avoidant person feels, so they retreat further.
Oh, man.
Which, of course, just terrifies the anxious person even more, causing them to push harder. To break this cycle, we use the Gottman method for relationship repair.
And the absolute cornerstone of the Gottman method is validating your partner's feelings without necessarily agreeing with their interpretation of the facts.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about de-escalating. You don't have to agree that you're intentionally ignoring them. You don't have to admit to a malicious motive, but you can validate their emotional reality. You can say, I completely understand why my silence made you feel abandoned and unheard. That must have felt terrible. That validation tells their amygdala that they are safe, which stops the spiral.
And if you are caught in a loop and you need an immediate emergency de-escalation, my absolute favorite detail from all of this material is the physical reset technique.
Oh, this is a good one.
It really is. One of the best ways to change a rigid cognitive mood is to rapidly change your physical body state. When an argument is spiraling out of control, one author challenges their partner to literally shake your ass.
Yeah, it sounds, completely absurd in a serious context, but the physiological logic is remarkably sound.
It is. When you are furious, your body is flooded with adrenaline. By forcing your body to do something silly, rhythmic, and physically exerting, you are literally burning off that adrenaline. It breaks the physical tension, completely disrupts the cognitive loop of the argument, and instantly shifts the mood. It is biologically impossible to maintain self-righteous fury when you are actively shaking it out in the middle of the kitchen.
It's so true. And a relationship is remarkably similar to a shared PKM system.
How do you mean?
Think about your Notion database. If you don't continually update it, if you don't prune the dead links, and if you don't actively go in and repair the broken connections between databases, the entire network degrades over time into a chaotic mess.
I see. A relationship requires ongoing maintenance, just like our code. You have to continually update your understanding of your partner, repair the inevitable ruptures, and maintain the emotional connections.
Exactly. The human operating system requires constant, intentional tuning.
Wow. Okay, let's take a breath and recap the journey we just took. We started by building a bionic digital second brain. We explored tools like Notion and Workflowy, and how to use custom APIs and Zapier payloads to capture our ideas and automate the exhausting busy work of our digital lives. We then transitioned into the biological realm, learning how to bypass ego depletion and program our habits, and learning through the striatum using habit stacking and spaced repetition. Finally, we tackled the heavy lifting, regulating our emotional reactivity to protect our mental health, and using attachment theory and physical resets to repair our relationships.
It is a truly holistic approach to mastering both the machine and the mind.
We've covered a staggering amount of ground, but before we wrap up, I know you have a final thought to leave us with based on how these two worlds are colliding.
I do. Consider this. As AI models, APIs, and digital tools become infinitely better at capturing, organizing, and executing knowledge tasks, as the coding and the digital scaffolds become nearly autonomous, raw intelligence and data recall will no longer be a competitive advantage.
Wow, okay.
Soon, everyone will have a perfect, automated digital brain. So what's left will emotional maturity, relational resilience, and the ability to connect deeply and empathetically with others become the ultimate, irreplaceable measure of human brilliance.
That is a profound question to end on. If the machine handles the code flawlessly, it's the beautiful, messy, resilient human elements that will define our future. Thank you so